Alright guys, on today's video I'm going to go over the catch can install. This one's going to be for a customer, but I actually did this on mine as well. I'm just going to be going over cruise control, relocation, the Cusco catch can, which are quite a few different options out there. This would apply for the Renegade, I believe the Blade, and a few other options. If you still want to keep cruise control, you'll need to relocate it to a safe location. There is a cruise control relocation kit that you can buy. I believe Blade has it for about 40 bucks, somewhere in that neighborhood. I'm going to show you how to do the cruise control relocation for free, using your original bracket, how to cut it, and then how to install your catch can. So as far as the catch can goes, this is just a Cusco catch can for AP1 S2000. It's going to go right here. So there's actually a bracket that holds the coolant reservoir, and if you can see, I actually chopped that in half. So half of it is going to be used for the cruise control, for the coolant reservoir. Then we're going to put our bracket for our catch can right underneath. And then the other half is actually going to go over here. And I tried to leave this somewhat loose, that way I can show you guys what I did. So as far as what to do with the cruise control module, you will take this bracket off right here. Not sure how well you'll be able to see it, but we're actually going to remove this bracket right here for your your throttle cable. My apologies, getting a brain fart right there. So we're actually going to chop that piece right here. If you can see the cut mark, I have the little section of what you're going to be cutting. So this little guy right here, you're going to cut this, and this is actually going to allow you to plug your cruise control in when you're finished up. So you're going to cut that, and then originally this comes up like an L. I put this in a vise, and then I grabbed some big pliers, pretty much like these, but a lot bigger, and I just twisted it to a 90-degree angle, because originally this cable would have wanted to sit like that, if that makes sense. So I twisted it, so it'll end up bolting down to this new hole right here for the original cruise control bracket. This down here ended up following this. So the cruise control originally sat right here, just like that, right? Unbolt that, move that out of the way. You'll take your cruise control, and you just set you down real quick. I'll just kind of show you what I'm talking about. All right, so this is what we ended up doing with the cruise control bracket, and this just allows you to, like I said, do it for free instead of using the Blade Sports one, which the Blade Sports one's a nice, easy setup. I'm just trying to help this customer out a little bit, save them. So if you can imagine this bent part where it's like a U, originally went completely straight down, and followed all the way to, see that hole? I'm lining them up, that bolt and that hole. It used to be straight, and then it used to sit like that. So I actually just bent it into a U, and then you want to go, what's that, about an inch and a half above the bottom plate, if you will, and then that way it'll clear your hood, and it'll line up with that hole right there. So we'll put that bolt back in that location, and then we'll move on here in a second. I'm going to try to keep this video pretty short for y'all, just to kind of go over everything. So anyways, now we have it bolted back up with that location, which is the original cable location. This cable is now going to get bolted to here, and we're going to go ahead and mount our cruise control up. So just slide it into here, just like that. Right, nice easy routing. Grab our little 10 mils. Throw these back on here. Got one in front, one in the back. There we go. This front one is going to be a little bit more difficult to get to, but still manageable. All right, so got that bolted down. And now we're going to go ahead and do the wiring. So if you can see, the wiring tees into this harness right here. We're actually going to have to open up this case, and we're going to have to fish through a brown wire. well, fish through one of these. So you have these 4 wires. 3 of them will actually stay with the harness. It'll be pretty easy to run back. One of them actually goes towards the front. So we'll have to cut that wire, and then we'll have to route the cut side over here, and we'll have to actually run about, I think it's about 10 inches to a foot worth of wire, and we'll have to connect it up here, and then we'll be able to plug it right in to our factory cruise control, and we'll be good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this, and I'll get back to y'all in a second. All right, just going to touch base real quick. So this is all mounted. It's actually the black wire, so I was incorrect on that. I don't know how well you can see it, but it's going to be the black wire that goes towards the front of the car. And then these 3 brown wires are actually going to be the ones that run through, you know, towards the direction we're going. So as far as this guy goes, you have that clip right there. That's actually clipped into the frame. If you can see where my finger's at, there's a little hole in the frame. So as you can tell, I actually flipped it upside down. So now this is the bottom. The bottom actually splits apart and opens up. And then you can pull these wires through. Apologize guys, I know it's not very great video. You can actually pull the wires out of the black clip, that harness protector, if you will. So you'll unclip this, you'll flip it upside down, right? And then you'll open it up and you can pull these 3 wires out. There's gonna be a little bit of electric tape. You can just cut that or unwrap it, however you wanna go about that. I'm gonna route that out of there. And then I'm gonna go ahead and cut this black wire right here. And then we're gonna run this black wire all the way with a new wire, all the way over here to our cruise control. We'll plug it in, we'll be good to go. So I'll get back to you guys in just a second. All right, so now you can see we have this wire cut, the black wire right here. That's one that we're gonna run pretty much a jumper, if you will, or you know, an extension, I guess would be the best way to call it. Here's the other half of that cut black wire. And then we pulled the brown wires through the loom just enough to where we can route this. Now obviously, you know, you can throw some of this ducting on, or you can electric tape it, whatnot, to make it pretty, or you can you know, route it under. We're gonna route it and tuck it. I'll show you guys the end result later, but I just wanted to give you an idea of what we're doing. You want to route these underneath these brake lines and everything to kind of give you the proper angle you need to get to, and then you're just going to plug it in right there to the cruise control module. So I'll be back here in a second when we get this thing all wired up and show you the end result. Alright guys, so we got this one over here all buttoned up and heat shrinked. We have the wire routed through the factory harness and then run up to about the same length all the way up to here. We're actually going to end up tucking it inside of there. Just want to show you what connector we're using. So these ones you can buy, you know, all types of places. They actually used to use these at a few different dealerships we worked at. They were actually a requirement as opposed to soldering or butt connects, obviously. Soldering, I would say, is the best option, but this one does have its own solder in the kit, as well as heat shrink for the red spots. So it's a pretty good connection. On top of this, I'm also going to use my own heat shrink just to kind of make sure we don't have any issues. So this one's pretty self-explanatory. You strip both sides of the wire, and then you actually just route them into the middle where that silver piece is, and then you use a heat gun or whatnot to melt all the sections. Nice and even, whatnot. You want to go for the metal first. Get that nice and, you know, hot, whatever. Don't burn through it, obviously, but that's also what the heat shrink will help for. So we're going to go ahead and show that, we're going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll show you guys the update in a moment. Alright guys, so as far as the cruise control relocation goes, that's going to be it. All buttoned up. We have our throttle cable right here, mounted, bolted right down to that screw. We have our harness plugged in, it routed through the factory loom, through the factory protector, all the way through there. See that little brown wire right there is our extension wire. Got it bolted to the frame, and then we're going to go ahead and move on with the catch can install. So first things first is going to be removing this hose right here for the PCV. Now, excuse me, this Cusco catch can is actually set up to be run from this breather, but based on research and everything that I've found, not the correct way to do that. The breather actually is, you know, just helps a little bit of pressure and more suction or induction into the engine rather than pressure. So your PCV is definitely going to be the issue. The other one to check is, first of all, you can do a PCV delete where you get this 90 degree without the ball inside. Good thing to check is popping it out. It only takes 2 seconds. You just pull it like that, give it a little shake. You can hear the ball moving around. If you can't hear the ball moving around, good idea to go ahead and replace that anyways. They're a couple bucks. You can get them online or at the Honda location, either one. We're going to go ahead and cap this plug right here, and we're going to actually run an open vent to atmosphere. We're going to run this PCV right about this angle. We're going to follow the hose all the way down here, and we're going to hook it up to this port. This port is going to be open. If you wanted to do a feedback to the manifold to keep it for possible, emissions, or so I don't think emissions. No, never mind. Emissions is not affected. My apologies on that. If you want to keep it, vented to the intake, it would help with a little bit of oil smell, because you're probably going to get some oil smell with it being vented to atmosphere. If it's a race car or whatnot and you're not too concerned about that, vent it to atmosphere. That generally seems to be the best way to go with these things, at least from what I've found. The recirc is totally fine to do. You just don't get as much as the smell. So I'm going to go ahead and run that line now, and then I'll update you guys here in a second to show you what I did. Alright, so I ran this one a little bit different than I did on my my personal S2000, just to make it a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. The biggest, most important thing to do, no matter what, consider all the moving parts in the vehicle. If you need to, let the vehicle run, look at everything. Obviously don't touch it, don't work on it running so you don't cut your fingers off or something. Let the vehicle run, look at all the moving parts. Obviously drive belt's the biggest concern. Motor mounts, vehicle is going to twist back and forth or rock side to side, everything. When you're driving, that's a big thing to consider. And then anyways, things are going to move around, while you're driving from air, wind flow, whatnot. So just keep those things in mind. As far as aesthetic wise, ran this down over the alternator over here on this side. Won't go back and forth. We have it tucked behind some things. You can always use zip ties to secure it as well. And then we ran it in between the AC lines. That way it cannot go to the drive belt in the frame. And then up this way, right into the catch can there. Next I'm going to go and do is the cap. Now the cap, obviously it comes for the breather side for the cold air intake or whatnot. So it's pretty big. Won't fit on there, right? Not even close, wiggles a lot. What I do is I grab some hose. The hose, I can't remember the inner and outer diameter. I could check here in a second possibly, but just needs to be able to slip onto here just like that. Pretty, nice and tight, right? Pretty good there. I mean, you could use the hose clamp and it's going to tighten it up. And the other thing is it needs to slide into this cap. So it's pretty much just going to be a spacer, if you will. So let me try to get you some rough estimates of sizing. I have my I'll just use this to give you an idea. So it's about, what's that, 5/8. So 5/8 outer diameter and 5/16 inner diameter, somewhere around that. And that'll kind of give you where you need to be. Obviously it's rubber, it's flexible. Best option is this if you want to try it yourself. And then what I did is I screw this all the way down, and then I just hold this in the vise. So I actually just hold it in the vise like that. A little bit overkill, you can just use a razor, but stop it nice and flush. Now you have a perfectly fitting cap. Obviously you can go out and buy a cap, make it the right size. That 5/16 I believe was it, but this is just using whatever's provided, just to get the job done. That's obviously assuming that you have hose, so whatever method you want to do on that, that's just what we did. Blow it out pretty good. Gonna slide that over, so now you have your cap, and then we're gonna tighten this guy so that it doesn't pop off, even though it's vacuum. Shouldn't have any issues, but you definitely don't want a vacuum leak. It's gonna be the biggest concern on that. So yeah, get back to it in a second. All right guys, she's all done. Got the catch can mounted up, got the plumbing done, capped off, and the wiring, as well as the cruise control relocation. We're gonna go and hook this guy back up. Don't want that to happen. There we go. Wow, a little tougher going on than I expected. There we go. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put that hose clamp on right now, but it's all done. That's how you do a catch can and cruise control relocation on an S2000. Hope it helps.